Hi class, this is going to be my attempt to try to get you through section 4.2.2 without me. First thing I'd like you to do is try problem number 52. Pause the video here for a moment and try to figure out what you want to do. Alright, so what we have here is this integral equals 9x squared minus 2. Essentially what we're saying is that 9x squared minus 2 is the area function associated with this particular graph. So if we want to find the area between 2 and 3, we'll plug 3 into the area function and get 79. We'll plug 2 into the area function and get 34, and then we'll subtract them for a final answer of 45. Okay, so let's check out this math notes box about area functions. You can see here at the top something that we've seen before. The area from c to x under a function, we're going to evaluate the area function at x and the area function at c. But the area from 0 up to c is always going to be some constant, like they explained here. So that means we could rewrite that as just a of x plus c. So any two area functions differ by a constant. That seems familiar. I feel like we've seen other things that differ only by a constant. So, some more terminology here. We could also have an indefinite integral where there's no boundaries over here. There are no specified boundaries. We're going to get a general area function versus a definite integral where we have boundaries. They're well defined, and we're going to get a specific area, a numerical answer. These indefinite integrals, they're always going to require that plus c, just like an antiderivative. The definite integral does not require a plus c because it ends up canceling itself out of the problem. That plus c is sort of in there twice. We end up subtracting it from itself, and it goes away, so you don't have to worry about the plus c on a definite integral. Okay, pause the video here and try problem 53. Okay, let's check out 53. Since we have a function here and we have well-defined boundaries, that's a definite integral in part A. Part B is an indefinite integral because it says here we want all the functions who have a particular slope function. A numerical answer, that's a definite integral. The kind that results in a function is an indefinite integral, and the one with infinitely many solutions is also an indefinite integral because of the plus c. Moving on. All right, so let's actually get to the statement of the fundamental theorem of calculus. So for starters here, we're going to get some terminology out of the way. F of x, that's going to be our original function. Capital F is the antiderivative, and a of x is going to be the area function associated with f of x. So we have discovered this relationship. We've hinted at it previously. Now we're going to cement it in stone. The integral from a to b of f of x dx is, we know, it's the area function evaluated at a minus, scratch that, it's the area function evaluated at b minus the area function evaluated at a. But that area function looks an awful lot like the antiderivative, and if it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, you know what? It's an antiderivative. So it's the antiderivative evaluated at b minus the antiderivative evaluated at a, and that's going to be the first thing that we're going with. Okay. If we have an indefinite integral, then we don't have any boundaries to plug in, so things get a little bit shorter. This is the area function evaluated at x plus a constant. But, again, same thing as the antiderivative plus the constant that we know is going to be there. All right? So part one of the fundamental theorem. So building off of that now, we go to part two of the fundamental theorem. So then if I have the integral of f prime of x dx, well, that's the antiderivative of the derivative of f of x. So that's just going to be the original function with the potential that there is that constant since we did an antiderivative. So if we translate this from math to English, we're saying that f of x is the antiderivative of f prime since f prime is the derivative of f. Sounds like doublespeak. Moving on to the second part, the derivative of the integral of f of x. Well, again, that's just going to be f of x because the derivative and the antiderivative undo each other. There's no plus c here because the integral happened first, then we swung through and did the derivative, and the derivative of that constant is going to be 0, plus c up here, no plus c down here. So in summary, there are two parts to the fundamental theorem of calculus. Part one is called the integral evaluation theorem. Basically says that you can do any integral if you can find the antiderivative. Sometimes easier said than done, but it's something that we can work on for sure moving forward. Part two tells us that derivatives and integrals are inverses of one another and they undo each other. It's just a matter then of figuring out when we have the plus c and when we don't. Here are a couple of practice problems where we're trying to apply the fundamental theorem to come up with a simple answer. So pause the video here for a moment and see if you can come up with answers to these. Then come back when you're finished. All right, here are my answers to those practice problems that I just gave to you. In the first one, we've got the derivative of the integral inverses. Inverses cancel. That leaves me with the function that was inside, 3x plus 1. Second version over here, top right. This is the derivative of a definite integral. This is slightly different now because a definite integral is always going to be a number. I don't really need to know what number it is to know that its derivative is going to be 0. Down here lower left, now we have the integral of the derivative of 3x plus 1. So again, things are going to cancel out. Lead me back to the original equation of 3x plus 1, but since the integral is the last thing that occurs, there's a plus c involved, which would be the same thing as then writing just 3x plus c. You could do that if you choose to. Lower right, it's the integral of the derivative, but now we have endpoints, we have boundaries, so we get to 3x plus 1, but then we have to plug in our boundaries of 4 and 1. 13 minus 4 equals 9. All right, and that's it. Hopefully that made a little bit of sense, and I'll try to fill in the blanks when I get back. Thanks.